Buenos dias, everyone. Sanchez here. Uh, I'm going to be starting a new Let's Play project of the Third Age Total War, which is a mod for medieval Total War 2. It's set in the Lord of the Rings universe, and I don't know which faction to play as. So there's a couple factions, so I was thinking about doing a poll so you guys can decide what I play. In a second, I'm gonna read out the names of the different factions and what kind of army makeup they have, so you can decide. And it's gonna be running for a week from the time I post the video, and whichever faction has the most votes at the end of that week wins. Yeah. So here we go. Okay, so first up we have the Kingdom of Gondor. They have professional armies, mainly infantry and ranged units with a couple cav. They've got real good defensive capabilities, but they're not the best on the offensive. Next up we have the Kingdom of Rohan. They rely heavily on cav units, cavalry. They don't have very good infantry units, either melee or ranged, but they do have horse archers. And unlike the Gondor faction, they're better on the offensive than on the defensive. Now we have the Kingdom of Dale. They've got cheap troops in a good starting position, but pretty shitty cav. Next we have the Kingdom of the Dwarves. They've got really good infantry. In fact, they're pretty much all infantry. They don't have any cav units they can recruit, but you can hire mercenary cav. This time we have the Kingdom of Eriador. I think that's how it's pronounced. They have really crappy units, but they have a large faction starting out. And Aragorn is one of their generals. So there's that. And we also have the Kingdom of the High Elves. They've got good infantry and good cav, but their population is pretty low to start out with, so you can't recruit a whole ton of troops. And their units are pretty expensive too. Next up we have the Sylvan Elves. They've got a lot of really good archer units, but their missile cav is really bad in melee engagements. And like the High Elves, they don't have very large numbers. And Legolas is part of them. Now we have the Kingdom of Mordor. They've got a lot of strong orc units, so the main goal with them is to try to swarm your enemy. They've also got a very defensible position, because if you've seen Mordor on a map, you can see it's surrounded by mountains, and you've also got allies to the south and the east of you. However, they do not have cavalry, but that's alright, because later on you get mountain trolls and Olog High, and those are pretty sweet. We also have Isengard. Like Mordor, they got a lot of orc units, but Isengard also has Uruk-hai, and they have warg riders as cavalry. They're really cool. And next we have the Orcs of the Misty Mountains. They've got a lot of orc and goblin units, so you gotta swarm with them as well. They don't have cav, but they get cave trolls later on, and goblins can get killed pretty easily, so there's that. But they start off in the Misty Mountains, so that's a pretty defensible position. Next up is Harad. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's pretty much the evil equivalent to Gondor, and they also have Mumakil, or the Oliphaunts from the Return of the King movie. So that's pretty sweet, and they've got real good melee infantry, strong starting position, but their territory is spread out pretty far, so moving an army from one city to another takes a bit of time. And lastly we have Rune. They've got real good late game infantry units, and ranged units too. If you remember the Easterlings from the third movie, the guys with the cool gold armor, that's them. But their early infantry is kind of lackluster. They've got a bad economy, so it's going to be real expensive to go to war with your neighbors, which would be the dwarves. and the Kingdom of Dale, but they look awesome. So there are all the factions in Third Age Total War. Like I said, the poll will be going on for a week once I upload the video, and whichever faction has the most amount of votes at the end is who I choose. And if there is a tie, then I'm gonna have to do something to break that tie, but I don't know what it is right now. So stay tuned. Yeah, I think that's it. So get voting. It's your democratic right.
It is unwise to praise the day before sunset, but our men are winning the battle and forging a worthy victory. enemy are badly blooded. They have lost half their men. The enemy general flees like the coward he is. Press onward and break the spirit of his army. The enemy flees the battle. Run down those... This is a clear victory that goes to only men of great virtue and valor.